Hi everyone! So, last week I talked about an experiment that compared the sequence in which students received explanation activities and intuition activities. And the results were a little bit confusing, so I tried to find out how these sequences affect students' learning. And today I want to zoom in on what I found for students with low prior knowledge. If you remember from last week, these students showed higher learning gains if they received intuition activities first compared to if they received explanation activities first. So now I wanted to know whether doing intuition activities helps students learn from subsequent explanation activities. And to that end, I looked at how errors that students made on the explanation activities differ depending on whether they had previously received intuition activities or not. And likewise, I looked at whether doing explanation activities first helps students learn from subsequent intuition activities. And I did that by looking at how errors that students made on intuition activities differ depending on whether or not they had previously received explanation activities. So here's what I found. Students with low prior knowledge made more errors on intuition activities if they had received explanation activities before. And likewise, they made more errors on explanation activities if they had received intuition activities before. And I explain this pattern with switching costs. So when you switch between the different activities, you have to mentally switch gears, and that requires a lot of effort and it can make things harder. You may experience switching costs, for example, when you switch from driving fast on the highway to driving slow in the city. On the highway, you have to mostly concentrate on cars passing you or you passing other cars and staying in line and flowing with the traffic and so forth. But in the city, it's different. You have to pay attention to stop signs, to red lights. You have to be prepared for cars in front of you slowing down. Sometimes they do that, forgetting to signal first. So perhaps you've noticed that driving in the city is more difficult than usual right after you get off the highway. And you can probably handle that if you're an experienced driver. But if you're a novice driver, you may really struggle with this switching from highway to city. So for students with low prior knowledge, these switching costs seem to be so high that they show reduced learning from the second type of activity. And I believe that is true because I used an analysis technique that allows me to test whether the errors that students make on the second type of activity statistically explains their pre- to post-test learning gains. And that analysis also showed that switching from intuition activities to explanation activities was less costly than switching from explanation activities to intuition activities. And that is why students with low prior knowledge had higher learning gains if they received the intuition activities first. But I find this finding a little bit sobering, because if students who have low prior knowledge suffer so much from switching costs, that could mean that they actually don't benefit from the combination of explanation and intuition activities together. Instead, it could be that they're better off if they did only explanation activities or only intuition activities or only regular activities. But this experiment did not test that. So therefore, I'm testing this hypothesis in a new experiment that is currently underway. In the next video, I will tell you about some more positive results from students who had moderately high prior knowledge. So stay tuned.